Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Let Me Think podcast. I have Rani Hariga here. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be fascinating because we're going to be talking about human design and life purpose. She's a spiritual life coach, and she works with people on their life purpose. And she's also an expert on human design. She's located in Lancaster in the UK. Oh, she is also a digital entrepreneur, so many things. I'm going to hand it over to you, Ronnie. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much, Emily, for having me here. And hello to the listeners, to the audience. As Emily said, I'm Rani. I'm originally from Indonesia, but I am currently in the UK. I've been here since for some time now, like 6 years, as the time of listening. But yeah, as you mentioned, I wear lots of hats. Like like in the
Yeah.
day job, yeah, in the day job, I'm an entrepreneur. I co-founded two tech startups, and then since the past 1.5 year, I've started to delve into spiritual life coaching, and then that's how I found about human design and like Dharma coaching as well, just to find out like basically they are tools to help you integrate what is your soul purpose.
hmm And I know that is a growing interest in the public these days. I think that the collective is evolving and trying to understand, like, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? So, can you explain what is human design?
Okay. So human design itself, it's at the end of the day, it's a tool. It's a tool it's a combination of there's a bit of element of astrology, the Vedic chakra system, and then there's the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching as well. And I was gonna say create like channeled slash created by this person. I forgot the actual name, but he is known as Ra Uruhu. And I think it was around 1970s, around 1970s, 1980s. The premise was to introduce to the people the science of differentiation, the science of individualization, because um, the premise was people were put into, let's say, school, like the school system, and they were expected to behave like how they were taught. Like you go to school and then like, okay, you excel according to the standard,
Yeah,
and
like
then
everybody's the same. Yeah.
exactly. Anything that stands out, it felt like, okay, you're not conforming to the standard. Okay, so you need some correction behavior here. So the premise is to appreciate the differences, the individualizations that we are born with.
Yeah, I love that. I also am a certified Ayurveda instructor, and that has a similar, well, that's from Vedic wisdom, but that's what you just said. It's included in this. And it's so important to remember we're all different because if you start to think everybody's just like a robot with different inputs and programming, that's not going to work because we're all different. We have to approach life in a different way. That's what makes life interesting, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. And yeah, and the world is a big human. I mean, we are all human beings, but then like, yes, we have brain, we have eyes, we have mouth, and then the anatomy is similar to a certain extent, like to speak it generally. Um, but if you really zoom in, there's micro differences.
Yes. Wait, so how did you get interested in this and or how does this help people with their lives? How did it help you, I guess is my question.
Right. So I first know about human design as part of the curriculum of the spiritual life coach, that the program that I did. And one of
hmm
them was like human design. I was, oh, okay, what is this? And then like I was Google searching, and oh, okay, wow, this is complex. Complex as in like, if you're already familiar with astrology, like you know, like you know your date of birth, and then you know what your stars are, your signs. This one is kind of like, as other people were saying, this is like astrology on steroid, because Yeah, no, seriously, because there's
Yeah.
so many layers, like
Well, in
onions.
astrology, there's many layers. People just usually don't realize that. But that's a different podcast for a different day. But yeah, it just shows how complex life is. Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's so many different layers. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no idea. I don't know anything about human design, so I'm gonna let you continue. I do
Okay.
know a little bit about astrology though, but yeah, I mean all of these things help us live our lives. So how does it help? How will it help me live my life better?
Mm-hmm. Um, okay, I am thinking how best to describe it because as I was saying, there are layers, and then like when I do readings for other people, I so we work with a chart. Basically, what we need is the date of birth and then place of birth and time of birth, which is why I was asking you. I was asking for yours because I thought, okay, maybe why not see what Emily's look like?
So
um,
it is part of it is astrology based, I'm guessing. Some form of astrology. Yeah.
there is an element of astrology because like um the information also comes from the placement of the astrology, but when we present it, there are different readers, like modern readers, they try to explain it to people in such way that it makes sense, it's more relevant to their situation, and it does not confuse people. Because my experience, when I show, okay, here's your chart, this is your human design, and people get like, oh, what are these? And they were like, oh, what is this, what is this, what is this? Like, hang on, let's go there. Like, let's hold your horses, we're not going there yet. We're not going
Yeah.
there yet.
And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I get that too. Like, especially if you show them all the information at once. I know, like I had an astrology, a Vedic astrology reading a couple months ago, and she was sharing screens with me, and I was like, "Oh, I want to know what that word means and what that planet is," and she's like focusing on something else, right? But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you have to start at some part of the message, I guess. Um, anyway, continue. So how can you determine my human design from I don't know how to say that, my human design from my birth data? That's my
yeah.
question.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it as a blueprint if you may, like your life blueprint. But anyway, um, birth of time. So basically, if you Google search everywhere in like human design, and then there will be like lots of system that can do that for you. And that will show you your chart, but then again, there are different layers because it will give you your like your energy type, your profile, and then your strategy, your authority, like decision making authority, and then there are other more zoom in, more detailed informations that you can create a narrative based on that.
I love that. And so can you give me an example? You have my birth data. I'm curious. You don't have to tell me about me. You could tell me about what yours says, but I just want to know like an example of what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, sure. Uh, are just confirming, are you open if I share yours as well?
Yes, that's why I gave
Okay,
it to you.
awesome.
Maybe
Okay.
now I'm scared that you had to ask for my consent. What are you gonna say? Just
Oh no,
kidding.
I mean, it's the I'm sure you know, but like, you wanna make sure everyone agrees that, yeah, can I share your? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
of course. Anyway,
I
so
understand.
I'm gonna start with the energetic type first, because those are like generally you could say like the layer. Think of it like an iceberg. Like those are the layers. That
Oh,
is easier to
like on the surface or something.
on the surface. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can say on the surface. So there are five types in general, and between so the two of us, we our types are the majority types of people around the world, which is a generator and a manifesting generator. So in this
Oh,
case,
those are
your
the most, what are you saying? Those are the most common types? What are you saying?
yes. So
Oh,
what I'm saying is that so in this case, yours is a manifesting generator, and I'm a generator, and the both of us it constitute like 70% of the population of the world, which are generator
oh,
or manifesting generator.
what are the other three?
The other three are there's manifester, there's the projector, and there's reflector.
So you're a generator and I'm a manifesting generator, which is like a
Uh-huh.
combination of two of them.
I would say um it's like a generator on steroid.
So I'm just on steroids. That's what the moral of this story is. I'm just kidding. So okay. Uh, and why is it that the majority of the population are those two?
Very good question. Um, so I'm gonna answer that with what makes a generator and manifesting generator the way they are, and why it's different from the other three. Um, so in the chart of human design, there are centers, and we're gonna talk about the sacral center. And if you're into the Vedic system, I'm sure you're familiar with sacral chakra, which is I wouldn't say it's completely different, but it's also not completely the same. So let's think of
From
it like
what?
a step
Oh, okay.
between the sacral center and sacral chakra.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I
let's
see what you're saying. They're two different things, but it's the same idea.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So the majority of the world, like the 70% of the world, they are sacral beings. So sacral being here, it means like they have their own powerhouse, like a generator, right? Like we have our own battery pack, or like we have our own power system. We don't need other people to turn on, or like to get the energy for us to
I
work.
see.
So but
That's
yeah,
true. That's true.
yeah, and which is
I never thought
why
about that till just now. I guess that's true. But I have thought of that in my life, like even from like early memories in childhood, maybe high school, maybe middle school. I remember thinking like, why do I have motivation to do things without being told and other people don't? I remember thinking that like in school, like with classmates. But I was
okay.
always the one that was like, if we were in a group, I would be the group leader, and then I would get a little mad almost every time that I was doing most of the work because I was
Mhm.
able to motivate myself. Anyway, I'll stop talking, but that is really interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you spoke about motivation because there's another center that deals with motivation, but let's stick with the
Okay.
sacral first. Yeah. So yeah, like majority of the world's 70% of people, they're like they have this capacity, but the thing is, it has to be the power that people want to work, like the things that they want to work on, it has to be something that they're light up with, like something they're excited about.
I see. But
Yeah.
for us, we as generators, we light ourselves up, is what you're saying. Like we have the ability to do it on our own.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Provided
Mhm.
provided that we are working on something that really lights up, something that excites us.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that about the other people. But
Uh,
everybody has something that lights them up, right?
but that's the thing, because just because we have the capacity, we have the power to work on stuffs, and most often than not, we work on stuff that we are not really excited about.
Mm, I can't do that. I mean, I can,
Exactly.
but it's absolutely excruciating. It's horrible. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be excruciating,
Kills our souls. Yeah.
and it lowers the vibration, right? If you're talking about the vibration and stuff,
Yeah.
and that's gonna correlate with the not self theme. So every type has a not self theme, and for generators and manifesting generators, that would be frustration.
Yes. And I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and now I live here again after living around the world. But this is a place where people are very used to just working on things, spending their time on things that don't light them up, that don't inspire them, that are not interesting, but they're doing it for status and money. This is like the center of capitalism right here. Not that where you are isn't, but this is one of them. So it's very hard. It's been very hard for me. Yeah. Not, but then you said 70% of the population's like that. So now I'm starting to wonder, people are just forcing themselves in the world to do things that are not really for them. That would you agree with that? Like
I
society
feel like
teaches us.
I think yes, there's an element of what's accepted as the societal norm, societal standard, and then of course there's intergenerational or ancestral patterns as well.
Hmm.
I do feel though people are starting to get more aware, like if not understand, at least they're aware, like okay, this is not working for me anymore. At least they are started to get aware of that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you saying? Go back to it was fascinating. So about the sacral center. Wait, how does that tie into all of this? Because the sacral chakra, I know, is all about emotion, right? I guess it's kind of. Oh, you were going to say something about motivation too. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, sacral is kind of like sacral center is kind of like the a drive or like this joyful pleasure, not pleasure for, I mean pleasure for life, joy, zest for life. So
Yeah.
yeah, like we have a consistent access to that, like as generators, manifesting generators. And
Okay.
motivation, in terms of motivation, actually, there's another center that's more about this, which is we call it the ego center.
Hmm.
The
Your
ego center.
individuality. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
ego is used in English in so many
Mhm.
different ways. Sometimes it's bad and sometimes it's okay. I don't know
True,
if it's ever
true.
good, but we need the ego. Yeah.
We do. And some readers will call it as willpower.
Hmm. That makes sense to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And so again, doing an example of both of ours, because interestingly, ours is not defined.
You and me, you
Okay.
mean? And
Yeah.
other, okay,
Yeah. For both of
generators.
ours, both of our design have not, it's an undefined center. So when it comes to centers, there's undefined and then there's defined. Think of it more like if it's a defined, it's consistent. Like our sacral, we have consistent sacral energy. But
Huh. Okay.
mhm. But with the willpower or the ego, ours is not defined. So it's more of a receptive rather than
Oh,
a
it's
consistent. Yeah.
open-ended.
Yeah,
That's
kind of like
interesting.
open.
So our identity is fluid.
Let's not
Yeah.
go into that because there's another center called identity center.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. But they're
Yeah.
all related. Interesting. This is very interesting. It does explain a lot. But for anybody listening out there who has a different type or wants to know what all this means, I guess I have a question. Do we all have all the types in us at different levels? Like in Ayurveda, there's there's what's wrong with me? No, I was gonna say five. No, there's three doshas. I won't go into it, but everybody has all three in all of them, but just different levels. Is it the same in human design?
I would say in a similar manner, we all have the same centers. We just have different types, and those centers will be different. Like for
Active in
instance,
different ways. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. This is all
Um,
making sense.
yeah, and another something I want to add on the ego willpower part would be it has something to do with willpower.
Mhm.
So if you find a situation where like you used to have the willpower or the motivation to do something, but then after that, yeah, I don't have the motivation to do this anymore, and that's okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Okay.
okay.
It is.
It is okay.
I don't have the motivation to have a podcast anymore. Is that okay? Can we stop now? I'm just messing with you. I
Well,
was actually telling you that I was considering at one point in time over a year ago, like getting rid of this podcast. Like, but because there are some people, is that okay? In my opinion, it's not okay to just always start things that you abandon. When I do something, I'm all in, I'm committed. Does that explain
aha.
anything about my type?
Yeah. It's very interesting because I was also looking into your overall. Okay, another thing with human design, it can tell you about your life purpose,
Okay.
but but it's more of like a general theme of your life rather than like a specific direction of, yeah, your life purpose is gonna be this, this, and this. It's more like a general signposting. And when I see yours, it's um there's a bit of an element of, yeah, it's okay if you want to start something, but you don't have to stick to it until it's finished.
Why? What? Are you sure? It,
Yeah.
that's okay. All that you tell that to all your clients. That's like
Well,
a thing in human design. Like it's okay to abandon. I'm just being non-judgmental. I'm seriously asking because um in the little voice in my mind tells me that's not okay to always start things that I don't finish. But of course it's okay to start something and explore it and then decide it's not for you. I think that's what you mean, right? Like a career. I've changed careers 4 times in my life now.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and but there has to be something to be said. Like, let's say we're talking about a college student who starts university with one major. I started as an anthropology major, and after a few weeks, switched to philosophy. But what if I did that every few weeks? I went back to the administration office and said, I would like to change my major again. Um, what does human design say about that? That's kind of
Okay.
fickle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I understand your question because yeah, I do ask the same question as well. Um, I'm going to ask you back in regards to the whole podcast situation because I think I feel like you already know this, but I'm just gonna point it out that your decision making authority comes from your sacral, so that's like your gut response.
Yeah.
And of course, you're intuitive person, so I feel like
Yes.
you
Yes.
have
And
those.
lately, I really feel in my body before I do something. Like, does it feel good here?
Mhm,
Probably in my sacral area, actually.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, what was your point of that? Yeah,
Yeah.
like before
So
you do something, you should feel if it's right for you. Is that what
yeah.
you're? Yeah.
So my invitation for you is this question, like, how does it feel for you to keep doing the podcast?
Right. Well, I was so before we started recording, I was telling Ronnie, um, my good friend Gosha, who lives in the UK as well. If you go back and listen to early episodes of this podcast, I think I called it season one. She's in most of those episodes. And we started it together, and it was her idea. I would never be doing this if it wasn't for her. And I count her as a catalyst in my life, a blessing who got me to do this because I wouldn't have done it without her. But after a few episodes, she got a full time job and started on a new life purpose and a new path. And she said she didn't have time for this anymore to devote time to it and energy. And she's a very careful person about where she puts her energy. And she's not impulsive. I'm a little impulsive. So, anyway, after she said that she didn't want to continue it, I thought about stopping the podcast. And yeah, I don't know if I'm a natural podcast host, but I'm still doing it because I do think the universe wants me to. Is that an answer to the question you were asking? Maybe it helps
I,
somebody else out there who's like, should I be doing this because someone told me to? Gosha told me to do this. But in a way, sometimes a person must come in and suggest something to you and put you on a path for you to realize that was a good idea. Am I going off topic?
actually, Emily, you know what, like let's do this. Are you open to a bit of experiment?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so I'll invite you to let's close our eyes. Let's close our eyes here,
Yeah.
and then let's just get grounded and get in tune with our breath, like by breathing in,
Mm-hmm.
and then let's breathe out. Let's do one more, like breathing in and then out. Now, I would invite you to take notice of your body reaction with the question of how would it feel to still continue doing the podcast?
Which I am doing. So I don't need to think about it too much. It feels good. It feels good.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay,
It feels right.
it feels right.
Are you going to ask me how would it feel to discontinue the podcast? I haven't.
Yeah, well, let's do
It
that. How
doesn't.
does
It
it feel?
doesn't feel bad. It's not like anything would implode, but neither one feels bad. But it feels a little bit better to keep doing it.
Right. Okay,
So,
okay.
and I know that what we are doing. This is how I do my coaching with people spiritually. Is like anything you're doing to help other people. Like I don't do this podcast for fame and fortune, right? I do it. I told you I do it for fun. If it's fun, that's a great reason to do it. But it's also helping people out there. And this is not the most popular podcast in the universe, at least right now. But we do. I do have lots of listeners who are hopefully getting value out of this. So in my opinion, that can never be wrong in the universe. And that's what keeps me going. But it makes me wonder now about other people and how they get lit up to do things because to me it's enough to know it's helping just one person. And you found me through my medium writing. If when I sit down to write, I think about who I'm helping as I start the first sentence. So I don't know if any of this is relevant to what you
Oh yeah,
what
yeah.
you're talking
This
about
is
because I really want the listeners here to also think about these things. This is not all about me. It's like how does this apply to other people and how can they work with you to figure out more about what they're doing in life. So
yeah, and this is very much relevant as well. So if you have already tuned in and your body says, yeah, keep going, this is great, awesome,
yeah.
keep it up, keep it up. And I wanted to also say, because this is a very great, because I feel like we keep segueing and you keep saying
All
the
right,
prompts
well,
like, yeah, because like, yeah, I mean,
we're the same type or whatever. We bounce off each other. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I found you through your medium writing. Like we didn't know each other at all before, but I would say that's because your profile. So there's another aspect of human design. It's called profile. Yours is 5-1, and it means with someone with have line has line 5, it means like someone who is a natural problem solver, or someone who likes to seek out new way of solving things and break out from all anything
Really?
that doesn't
My
work anymore.
medium profile said that to you when you looked at
I'll hang on. I'll go there.
it?
I'll go into there.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
um someone with line 5, okay, so there are differentiation, like those who work with, who have more receptive their message are more receptive to the people of their own network or their own community, and there are those who are more receptive to even strangers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in your case, like being a line 5, your message is more receptive to strangers. While
That
as
makes sense.
in my case, mine is 4-6, and these are for people who are more into my connection, more
Mm-hmm.
to my close relationship. If I'm doing the same thing to you, I mean, I'm not saying that I cannot do the same thing. I can,
Mm-hmm.
but the effect is going to be different.
Hmm. And I believe we should all be doing what we're best at. Well,
Exactly.
and that brings us joy. But yeah, that's interesting. And I see what you mean by that. Because it's like if you resonate with your message most with people within your vibration, that's very impactful. Maybe for me, I resonate with a larger group of people, but at a smaller scale or something, at least right now. I don't know.
So what I'm going here is because you're pretty much in almost all channels, right? Like Medium, and then you have your own books, you have your this podcast.
Dang, is
Uh,
this podcast is like boosting my ego. Thank you. My guests don't usually say such nice things. Yes, yes, I have a lot of different channels: Medium, Instagram, my book, TikTok. What I don't even remember this podcast. Um,
exactly. So
mhm.
you're reaching out to as many strangers as possible, basically.
Yeah, that's true. I like
Yeah.
strangers.
You like strangers.
No,
Okay.
I've met the most amazing people, including you, from around the world because of all that. But I get some people are meant to be like a yoga teacher in their neighborhood where everybody knows them and they can make a huge impact doing that. Um, I could do that. Right. I could do that too, maybe, but it just maybe isn't my path. I don't know. This is all very interesting. I want
It
to
is.
follow up with you after this more about my human design type so I can understand it. But we are coming to the end of this podcast episode. I feel like we have so much more to say, though. Do you have anything else that I cut you off from saying that you wanted to finish up about?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do want to say something about line 5 because this is also important. Uh, there's a tendency of being projected by other people. So other people might see you as someone who can solve their problems, or
Mm,
but that's the thing, like those problems may or may not be something that you want to take on, but it's
mm-hmm.
gonna be really up to you, and really, really listen to your gut feeling if this is the kind of problem you want to take or
Yeah,
not.
that is a
And
problem I encounter.
okay,
I won't go into detail, but yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So
Yeah.
the lesson here is to like get clear with your boundaries, and if you're talking with clients, it's like, okay, being very clear that this is what I can offer for you, and
hmm
I'm what I can do and what I cannot do.
That is so interesting because just earlier today, something like that happened. So good to hear. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I feel like we probably should have a sequel to this episode, as I feel in most episodes these days. But I think this gave the listeners a taste of what human design is and how it can help them. I think it's fascinating. And so, how can they reach out to you and work with you?
Yeah. As of now, like I'm on Instagram at @RaniHari_, and
Okay, I'll put
DM me.
these
Yeah.
things in the description of this podcast for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was I cut you off? What was the last three letters you said? Ronnie Hari underscore.
_ You know my Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What was the other thing you said after that?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say DM me there. Just DM me.
Oh, DM her that. Okay.
Yeah.
And since we've mentioned my writing, if anybody wants to find my Medium writing, it's emily-jennings.medium.com. But a lot of my articles are free to read on my blog at wellnessoneness.com. And thank you so much for doing this. This is fascinating. I'm going to follow up with you and find out more. I hope others listening do the same. And is there any last thing you'd like to say before we go?
Oh, yes. Oh, well, thank you very much, Emily, for this opportunity. And I wish the listener have a great day ahead wherever you are.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone.